Take. Okay then. I'm gonna try to get you the penta, honestly. You have one more? You can't die with it. Some good dog.
You can go. I mean, I have flash in a second.
Oh my god!
He teleports on the side of CCW. They might try to go for a pick here. Box Prime has to be careful. Doesn't know they're all there. This could be the pick they want, but you have to be careful as well, though. They're gonna burst him down. Box Prime dies before anyone else can go in. They don't get the second call of the force guard, and here we go. Here comes the Vlad. Keep an eye on the Vlad. Vlad on the back line. There's a double knockout. Keep an eye on the Vlad. Vlad gets one of them. Vlad's able to get two of them unbound. He's gonna survive on the back end of it, but they're gonna be able to kill the Anivia. And there's two dead on the side of CCW. Can they get more? There's the Vlad. Can they get the knockup on Asthmatic Boy? Can he get the blast kill? No, he can't. He's gonna fall incredibly low. They're gonna keep going in. Team Shooter is gonna be able to get the root. They're gonna try to find more. They're gonna find everyone. But there's the kill. Unbound. He's doing it all. Unbound is doing it all. Give it out. Unbound. Unbound's killing them all. Unbound is winning this game.
Okay.
That's good.
They're definitely gonna get it, but I think we win this one, guys.
Nice.
Oh
Maybe
my
they don't.
god.
Get it!
Like, you know where like the cleavage is, where like the boobs touch? Or supposed to touch?
No, I've never touched a woman.
Cat Everfrost used not gonna quite hit. There goes a 5-man shield there. Rax going to get caught up in the baby cage. That's gonna be a 3-man shockwave in the back line with a big face breaker. That's gonna be a showstopper right there. That's
Can't get slowed when he was in Pike's game. That's too soon. Nice. Take. Okay then. I'm gonna try to get you the penta, honestly. You have one more? You can't die with it. Some good dog.
You can go. I mean, I have flash in a second.
Oh my god!
He teleports on the side of CCW. They might try to go for a pick here. Box Prime has to be careful. Doesn't know they're all there. This could be the pick they want, but you have to be careful as well, though. They're gonna burst him down. Box Prime dies before anyone else can go in. They don't get the second call of the force guard, and here we go. Here comes the Vlad. Keep an eye on the Vlad. Vlad on the back line. There's a double knockout. Keep an eye on the Vlad. Vlad gets one of them. Vlad's able to get two of them unbound. He's gonna survive on the back end of it, but they're gonna be able to kill the Anivia. And there's two dead on the side of CCW. Can they get more? There's the Vlad. Can they get the knockup on Asthmatic Boy? Can he get the blast kill?
Welcome everybody back to the Divine League Showcase match. It's week 3. We're trucking along through the regular season here, and we're back with the analyst desk set up. Of course, I am Slayer, joined by I believe I'm trying to point. Yes, on my left is Gordo and Bonfire, and we're getting ready for our showcase match of the week, which is going to be Purdue University versus JHU Anti-Yuumi Fan Club. That's a bit of a mouthful, gentlemen. But obviously, how you guys doing tonight? Are we expecting Yumi bans throughout the entire series? Gordo, I guess, is my main takeaway, purely based off of names.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for Yumi bans at the very least. The nerfs haven't really come through after Worlds quite yet. I'm sure everyone's gotten to see the screenshots of her like out damaging mid laners. Her damage per gold stats are crazy. And I just don't really want to see it. I'm kind of done with it. I'm on board with the anti-Yumi fan club, so I'm hoping we get to see some engaged supports tonight. I'm over the Enchanters meta, and in theory, so is Riot, following some of those nerfs pre-Worlds. So we'll see. We'll see what we end up actually seeing on the Rift tonight, but I'm definitely on board for skipping that pick wherever possible.
Yeah,
I'm
Yumi does.
right there with you, Gordo. But Gordo, you did allude to a point. Obviously, I think it's a big thing to mention this week with Divine. The Divine split is last week we kept talking about harping on we're on Worlds patch, so in Worlds planes we're going on. So what are these players going to reflect on from what they've seen in the plane stage that they're going to apply to the Divine League? Well, that's all out the window now. Bonfires, we've moved on to 12.19 and a lot of changes that may be intriguing for this week's matchup.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of great changes. Riot decides that everybody needs an off role, which everyone needs an off meta build, which some small communities are laughing and happy. Tom Kenshin enjoyers enjoy your AP. Kaisa getting an AP buff, but honestly, the most important thing, obviously, is the Blitzcrank jungle buff. No, I'm obviously joking, but there is a lot of things being moved around. I think the biggest thing that everyone's going to look at is some of those hard nerfs that you're seeing on champions like Master Yi getting a bit of a change. Also, Syndra getting her long awaited changes to her ultimate and to her kit as a whole. I think she was an old champion, so it was long overdue. So it's a lot of fine tuning. I don't think you're seeing as much as 12.18 brought, but it's a lot of off meta. It's a lot of big nerfs to champions that were just terrorizing solo queue, and it's the new Syndra that I think we've all been waiting for.
The new Syndra and the new Nasus is also
Yeah.
going to be on Summer's Rift. I'm a huge fan of the big Doge up in the top lane. So you saw some changes with his range to his Q. His slow also affects attack speed just about as much as it affects movement speed now, and he has a couple more tweaks to his ultimate. But we could talk about the patch notes for I figure hours. But we do have to talk about the matchup, right? We do have a little bit more data now that we're into week 3 about what to see from these two teams. And Gordo, I know you saw a couple intriguing points with one of these rosters.
Yeah, for sure. Well, both of these teams are coming in undefeated, so we've definitely got a banger matchup one way or the other. JHU, Anti-Yuumi Fan Club, of course, coming off the bye week, so only having played one match so far. But Purdue University, they're on a 2-0 streak. They're looking to keep that running and making it up to a 3-0. And I'm going to be favoring them here a little bit on paper just because doing a little OPGG research, JHU, Anti-Yuumi Fan Club, this is the off-roll team, baby. We're talking about off-roll buffs for champions. These are some off-roll players, Night's Dawn and Drix It Up, they seem to be playing a whole bunch of jungle and solo queue. Waterfrog, the jungler, seems to be playing mostly mid lane and solo queue. Cridians is playing mostly support. So, these guys, they're just coming together. You can tell by the name, they're more of a group of friends more so than, maybe an established collegiate team like Purdue University. And, it shows through. Some of them are playing some roles that they might be a little bit less comfortable on. Wasn't enough to stop them from winning in week 1. We'll find out if it's enough to stop them from winning up against Purdue.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dichotomy to point out, right? Is you do have like maybe a group of friends. When you have a team that's named Anti-Yuumi Fan Club, kind of screams that it's a bunch of friends that came together just to compete at a higher level. But sometimes Bonfire, those teams can catch collegiate orgs that have been so wrapped up in prep and practice off guard.
Yeah, one of these teams has to, lose their first loss of the season. Jay obviously grabbed their first win in 2-1 fashion. Meanwhile, Purdue has just been steamrolling. They have not dropped a map yet. So it's been dominant fashion for Purdue, but just like with any traditional sport, esport, you know, take your eyes off the or you take your foot off the pedal, excuse me, for half a second, and suddenly your car's careening into the river. So Purdue still has to keep their eyes on the road. There's an undefeated team in front of them, and they're, I think, critically coming off of a bye week. If you just slam your head into the wall and play a bunch of matchups in a row, it can really take its toll. Coming off of a bye week, seeing the patch notes, relaxing, having fun, banning Yumi all the time. Maybe these guys have a little bit of an upset in their future.
Well, we certainly could see one tonight, and upsets are always fun to watch. Whether we're talking about Fnatic upset, absolutely blowing up in Worlds play right now, or just general upsets in the Divine League. But guys,
I see
we
what
have a
you
bit
did
more.
there.
Yeah, you know what I like to come out with the puns. But guys, we have a bit more time before we get into draft. You guys say goodbye to me, so I kind of want to talk about obviously we're on 12.19. But I want you guys each to highlight maybe a champion that you still think is going to be maybe high priority for this matchup. Gordo, I put you on the spot, but what are you thinking with that sort of description?
So it's a boring pick, but my eyes are going to be on the Viego in particular, just because I think that champion's going to be super contested coming into this matchup. The champion's kind of evaded any kind of real changes over the last couple of patches. We could see at Worlds, it's still a really big pick, and it's a go-to jungler for both of these players. Waterfrog over on the side of JHU and Ariman over on the side of Purdue. They're both playing a whole bunch of him. Ariman in particular, he's got a bunch of Viego games under his belt, like 300 plus in ranked this season. So I think both teams are going to be prioritizing that pick super highly, and I'm going to be keeping a close eye on it throughout the series, see if it gets banned, see if it gets stolen away, and how these teams are going to react to it.
Yeah, I think I'll take a little bit of a different approach, looking away from how teams kind of prioritize based on their play, and look more towards how good champions are. I know, Slayer, we looked at a team last week where they may have had the best picks, but it did not end up mattering. But it still does matter. And obviously, me and you were both at Worlds this past weekend, and we saw a whole lot of Azir. I would expect to see Azir, even if both mid laners don't feel comfortable on the champion. Doesn't really matter. He's such a strong champion, and just because of how good he is in every stage of the game, the damage he puts out, you let him be for 20 minutes just to farm, and suddenly the game's over. So I expect to see Azir. And I know you didn't ask this, but I have to throw it in there. One champion I expect not to see is the Misfortune. I think people were really excited, I know you especially, about the damage that she has in theory to pull off. But the issue is the bullet time is just so difficult to land unless you have so much perfect scenarios happening for you that I expect some more ease of use AD carries.
I think that's a great point. Two great points you made there, Bonfire, because yes, I was a big fan of Misfortune. Obviously, when you look at purely her kit and her current, you know, buffs she saw, her changes. The issue with Misfortune that kept her around for a lot of the time during the spring and summer splits was the fact that bullet time is just a hugely impactful ultimate that a lot of leagues like the LCS for one could get off and impact fights heavily. But the tweaks allowed her to be a crit based carry as well. She could go away from that full lethality build, which I thought would make her very relevant. But yeah, she doesn't look too good considering that she's basically winless in Worlds right now, including North America. I had to make one of those jokes, but I do have one more champion that I want to shake out and throw out there before we get set for draft here. You guys talked about the Azir is a great one, Viego as well, but if you don't have Misfortune available, it seems like the new favorite pick is Aphelios right now because he's just so much better protected right now. He's not reliant like Misfortune on one giant sort of ultimate that you have to get off a giant bullet time. Aphelios is just scales better than Misfortune does right now. He honestly can protect himself just about as well as she can if Strut isn't available for Misfortune, and the damage doesn't have to come from one giant ultimate. So that'll certainly be very, very intriguing to watch. And I think we're still waiting here to get set for draft as the teams. Are the teams still streaming in? I believe the teams are still streaming in. So I do. You know what? I'm gonna say it. Worlds is on a lot of people's minds. So while we're still waiting, I guess to pivot for a second here. Do you guys have sort of changed idealistic World's favorite now after like one weekend of groups? Gordo, I know you've been watching real close, so you've got to have some thoughts on this topic.
I got a lot of thoughts. I got a lot more emotions related to how the last couple of weeks have gone. I'm gonna avoid the second half of those. But I'll call out Rogue. I mean, Rogue has blown me away. I'm a big EU hater.
Yes, sir.
I'll
Yes,
go on the
sir.
record with that. It's in my blood, the regional pride here. But even I like to think I'm usually pretty good at setting those things aside for team evaluations. But Rogue has blown me away. They are so much better than I thought they would be, and they look like real contenders. I've been real impressed by them so far.
Yeah, Rogue showing everybody that maybe it's not the org's history, but the players themselves that can really shine through. I 100% agree with you. How could you not be just completely blown away by the play of Comp, Malrang? Both just have been standouts for them. And then it just feels like Trimby, Larson, and Odo Omne just chugging along, doing what they've always done for Rogue. So good on them. I'm gonna have to give it over to EDG. I think EDG has been really strong. Their first loss to T1, I hate to say it was a bit of a fluke. It feels like if T1 doesn't execute that comp perfectly, they lose, but they did. And I think EDG really straightened the ship. So I think EDG is going to continue to be very good in Worlds. They're just so good across the board. Every single position feels like they can win out in any given day, especially Zhao Hu and Wei. Or excuse me, not Wei, but Zhao Hu can play so incredibly strong. So, or not Zhao Hu, I'm thinking of RNG. Scout can play so incredibly strong. So look, they've got a great team. You add JJ and Flandre to the mix, and maybe 2 in a row. Who knows?
Always fun to talk a little bit of pro level League of Legends action. But speaking of two good teams, we have two good teams set to get ready for draft of game one. So, Gordo and Bonfire, it's been a pleasure as always. I'll see you guys on the other side of game one, but take it away with draft.
All right, thank you very much there, Slayer. Bonfire, it's just you and me now. We're getting ready to start on off with our first draft of the night. JHU Anti-Yuumi fan club going to be sitting on the blue. Purdue University taking up the red. And, maybe swapping back and forth over the night, maybe not. But going to be an exciting game one nonetheless.
Yeah, should be fantastic. I'm really curious with this band stage. We talked a lot about these champions that are going to be high impact. The question mark is, do they get banned or do they wait to get picked up? I think a lot of teams in pro play, in Divine League, have this order where it's, if this goes through, we need it. And then it's a bit of a mental game of maybe they want it first pick, then we get 2 picks back. So that's what's so great about this ban phase and pick phase in League of Legends. It'll be curious to see if that does end up happening as we make our way into bans right now.
Yeah, I will also call out here, Purdue University not only undefeated in series, but undefeated in games so far here tonight. So it'll be a little bit of a big moment in the league so far for Anti-Yuumi fan club to take a game here as well. If they could win this game number 1, if they could win the game number 2, if they could win the series, it'll upset some things in the Divine League this split so far, because Purdue University sitting at that 4-0 record. And we're going to start getting right into the bans. I see Yuumi immediately taken off the board by the Anti-Yuumi fan club. That's what you want to see, sticking true to the name there. And the Zach ban coming over directed right towards RL Pumps.
Yeah, I can't say I'm surprised about the Yuumi ban. Zach ban, definitely a little interesting, but you did see some Zach mid, and he's just felt so strong in that tank formation, so I'm not entirely surprised as well. We've also got the Graves and the Viego, like you touched on, so neither team feels comfortable enough leaving them up, and Jinx did just get a buff. She is going to be the first person.
All right, like to see that one. We've seen a little bit of niche Jinx play at Worlds anyway, as one of those fallback late game scaling AD carries. If you can't get access to the Aphelios, if you can't get the Enchanters for the Sivir, this is usually a pick that you were already able to fall back on pre-buffs. Now that she's buffed up even a little bit further, going to be exciting to see. Aatrox as well. His champ's busted, and this champ has not really had anything to put a damper on that put in thus far, so he's definitely going to be somebody to watch in that top lane. Joined with a Nami. It could be setting up for a Lucian-Nami duo. Could be something a little different. We'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah, I expect the Lucian. My first thought was, well, this just sets up Jay so perfectly to counterpick it, except for bans are a bit later, and they already picked their ADC, so it's a bit telegraphed what Purdue's going to do. I really imagine it's going to be that Lucian. The synergy's so strong. I cannot even remember the last time I saw Nami with another AD carry, so I expect to see Lucian, Nami, and then the Aatrox, like you talked about. I mean, tell me how you really feel. Aatrox is just so busted. It's unbelievable what he's able to do. The counter pick has been the Jax or the Fiora in the top lane if you want to go for something to duel with him, and the Ornn if you just want to sack it and go tank. But it doesn't matter because Aatrox is everything. He's a tank, he's a duelist, he's a split pusher. he's the bane of everyone's existence.
All right, that pick missing is Malphite. I'm seeing it emphasized to me here
Interesting.
on our little production side, hidden from the stream, but we know that that is going to be the Malphite lock-in blind, not blind, taking it up against Aatrox. So that's their counter pick. We've seen a billion different counter picks to Aatrox at Worlds. Malphite going to be the one that the Anti-Yuumi fan club is presenting for your evaluation here tonight. Lulu going to pair up with the Yuumi, and they don't go for the Lucian here. They lock in the Sylas, another high priority solo laner, but this leaves them open to having that Lucian banned away.
Yeah, if I'm Anti-Yuumi fan club, I'm just thinking, what's happening? Let's just ban the Lucian. They're hovering it right now, and indeed, I imagine they pick it. I'm very surprised for Purdue not. I mean, maybe in scrims they've found something that goes better with Nami, but the pushing power of Lucian Nami, it's still good late game. I'm really surprised. I imagine they were worried about getting that Sylas banned out, but they are even blinding Sylas. So I'm pretty blown away by that. I'm not blown away by the Lulu Jinx. I just want to touch on it really quickly. Lulu Jinx dominated the playoffs for LCS, LEC. I mean, it was just such a strong pick. Lulu got a tiny nerf, and suddenly everyone was like, oh my goodness, she's awful. She's not. Don't worry. She's still very strong. I expect to see Lulu Jinx just rain terror.
For sure here, other options that can go with that Nami that start to come to mind, the Sivir probably kind of works. It's another enchanter to duo up with that Sivir. She's strong with pretty much all of them. Can't get access to the Lulu, can't get access to the Yuumi. Those have been picked away. So, maybe you go on over to the Nami, even though it was the one that was picked first. The other option to keep your eye on, heard some whisperings of Kog'Maw in response to the current meta. You got a couple of real strong frontliners here with the Aatrox and the Sylas. Maybe that one could end up coming through as an R5 pick. They've already got both their solo laners. There's not really too much risk in taking jungle here on R4. But we'll see what they end up going with.
Yeah, I would pick jungle. They are going to go 80 carry. It's the Sivir that you talked about. Nami Sivir, not as good as Lucian Nami, but still very strong. I mean, it's Sivir with an enchanter. You're always going to be very happy with that. I think also Sivir's ultimate along with Nami's ultimate goes so well together. You're able to just speed everyone up. And then there's a giant wave going towards them. So the CC along with the speed just makes for some pretty compelling team fights for the side of Purdue. But I would have liked to see the Lucian, but that's why they're playing and I'm casting. We'll see if they have a different way to go, play things out, as it looks like it's going to be the Talia in the mid lane.
Yeah, getting a lot of play from 100 Thieves, not a lot of play from teams that are winning games. Yeah, I'm going to say teams that are winning games. I'm not going to say teams that are good. But still a super powerful champion in the current meta, definitely one that you can play over here in the Divine League at the very least, and will be pretty effective up against a kind of shorter range composition that Purdue has drafted for themselves thus far. Will probably have a longer effective range than pretty much anybody that Purdue's drafted for themselves so far with those stones. And there's another buffed champion coming through as the final pick, the Nunu.
Yeah, AP Nunu just got a buff. I expect to see Tank Nunu just with the way the comp's going out, but hey, if we see AP Nunu, we know why. Just quickly on the Talia, you talked about the short-range champions. I think Aatrox has a really tough time along with Sylas going into the Talia, but Aatrox especially because she's able to just kite him out very well, as the Trundle is going to be the last pickup. I understand it. You're going into a Malphite, I totally get it.
Yeah, definitely fits in pretty well there. I do agree that it's most likely going to be the tank Nunu, but those AP buffs, especially when they're at such a high ratio, like this is a 50% ratio buff on Absolute Zero, it'll come in at least a little bit here and there as Slayer rejoins us. You end up with a little adaptive force in your kit here and there. Maybe you get a little bit of AP based on what items Nami buys, where she heals you. She ends up giving you a little bit of AP off of that, off of the Staff of Flowing Water. You get a bigger Nunu ultimate off of it. It's going to come in and be maybe just the teeniest bit relevant.
The teeniest bit relevant. We'll have to see how that plays out. I think, take away from the draft, a lot of mix of some, high prio 12.18 picks with some, I have to assume, comfort as well. I mean, you highlighted the Nami. Unless you're picking her with Lucian, doesn't always really work as well. But then again, you knew the Anti-Yuumi fan club were going to ban her away, but you still have power picks like Aatrox, Sylas. I think are two very strong picks. Sivir in her own right. Lulu, Talia's still been picked a lot. But man, the Malphite is kind of the curveball. I mean, Bonfire, I know you saw some. There have been a little bit of tweaks to Malphite on 12.19. Do you think that might be playing a factor here as we get through the client side draft?
I don't. I hate to just completely say no. I know the improv normalcy is yes and, but I have to go no because where's your tank if you're the side of JHU Anti-Yuumi Hate Club? Nunu possibly, but you really need 2 tanks or at least a tank and a bruiser. So I expect it to be full tank Maokai. I also think full AP Maokai into this comp would be a little int because who are you going to land your ult on with all that damage? Sivir can just spell shield it. Silas can dash away. So I expect to see a tank Malphite. I keep saying Maokai. Malphite. I think it's an interesting pick against the Aatrox because, I mentioned it earlier. Just there's been a lot of like, what do we do against Aatrox? Nothing's really worked to perfection. So it'll be interesting to see if the Malphite is that, kryptonite to Aatrox's Superman.
Well, that's certainly a beautiful preview of the top lane, Bonfire. Gordo, I'm going to quickly get your impressions on another very interesting matchup before we get to predictions here. Talk to me about, and specifically early game, and even when ultimates come online, what does Trundle versus Nunu look like? Who are you favoring in skirmishes and overall gank pathing?
Well, Trundle's the skirmish king for sure, and I feel like up against the Nunu especially, he presents even a distinct advantage because when you start seeing him come in with that snowball, the most powerful tool that Nunu really has access to, you can interrupt it straight up by just throwing a pillar in front of him, blow it up, and stop him from even having access there. So that's going to be a big problem for the Nunu. You're going to definitely be looking to avoid that Trundle wherever possible. Going to be a tough time for RL Pones there. I'm going to be paying close attention for Ari Man to see if he can find this Nunu and if RL Pones can avoid the Trundle.
Yeah, I think perfect way to put it, Gordo. That's I knew you'd give a very insightful in little look into this jungle matchup. Well, we're getting through on the client side, which means we're getting close to the spectacle, which means it's time to put your money where your mouth is, gentlemen. So I remember the last time we all were here, I believe me and Gordo were perfect on predictions the last time we were here, and Bonfire flamed out on our final game. So Bonfire, I'll go to you first here for a bit of redemption in the prediction department. Who are you favoring for this game 1 matchup between JHU, Anti-Yuumi Fan Club, and Purdue University?
Well, I went first last time, and it kind of screwed me because we were all so unsure, and I gave you guys the avenue to go against me. It was the perfect dramatic scene, and I set you guys up perfectly. But this time, I don't want to alley-oop. I want to slam dunk this one, and that's why I'm going to go with Purdue University. I think JHU, Anti-Yuumi Fan Club, they're picking from solo queue. There's a lot of champs that you'll see that you'll possibly curse out. Oh, Nunu in the jungle, I hate it. Or Maokai, he's so frustrating. But when it comes to these team games where everyone's coming up, I would just much rather have an Aatrox. I would much rather have a Trundle. I think bot and mid are pretty even, but I just think those jungle and top differences are really going to, come into play late game.
All right, well, Gordo, you set the stage for Purdue University. Are you back in your co-caster there? What are we thinking?
I will point out I was lied to because looking at the sheet there, if you look at the sheet, they have these players in completely different positions. But now that I look at them in the draft, everybody's playing the position that they play in solo queue. RL Pones is in the jungle. Water Frog, he's playing ADC instead of mid lane. But the point is, not everybody's as off-rolled as it appeared on the sheet. With that said, I'm still picking Purdue University. These champions are busted.
Yeah, you know what? Short and sweet. I love it. Yeah, I'm right with both of you. We're gonna go for a clean sweep on the analyst desk here. I mean, Gordo's point is the main thing, right? I just don't know how you contain Aatrox in the top lane. I don't know how. I just love Silas against Talia constantly, and I think Sivir is a little bit stronger right now compared to Jinx. And we already talked about, Gordo, you touched on the skirmish ability of this Trundle. I think that in the hands of a player, like Ari Man, I expect him to be in the jungle constantly, just disrupting everything Nunu wants to do. So I'll back Purdue University, the 2-0 team here. But to figure out if we're going to get boiled by not the Boilermakers, by the other team on our predictions, we'll have to go to one more break to get through Spectale. But on the other side, these two will take you through game 1 between JHU, Anti-Yuumi Fan Club, and Purdue University. Stick around.
Like, you know where like the cleavage is, where like the boobs touch? Or supposed to touch?
No, I've never touched a woman.
Cat Everfrost used not gonna quite hit. There goes a 5-man shield there. Rax going to get caught up in the baby cage. That's going to be a 3-man shockwave in the backline with a big face breaker. That's going to be a showstopper right there. That's
Can't get slowed when he was in Pike's E. I've taken. Nice. Okay. Okay then. I'm gonna try to get you the penta honestly. You never know. You can't die with it. It's gonna get dogged.
Can go. I mean, I have flashing. A second.
Oh my god! Have any teleports on the side of CCW. They might try to go for a pick here. Box Prime has to be careful. Doesn't know they're all there. This could be the pick they want, but you have to be careful as well, though. They're gonna burst him down. Box Prime dies before anyone else can go in. They don't get the second call of the force guy. And here we go. Here comes the Vlad. Keep an eye on the Vlad. Vlad on the back line. There's a double knockout. Keep an eye on the Vlad. Vlad gets one of them. Vlad's able to get two of them unbound. He's gonna survive on the back end of it, but they're gonna be able to kill the Anivia. And there's two dead on the side of CCW. Can they get more? There's the Vlad. Can they get the knockup on Asthmatic Boy? Can he get the blast kill? No, he can't. He's gonna fall incredibly low. They're gonna keep going in. Team Shooter is gonna be able to get the root. They're gonna try to find more. They're gonna find everyone. But there's the kill. Unbound. He's doing it all. Unbound is doing it all. Give it out. Unbound. Unbound's killing them all. Unbound is winning this game.
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
They're definitely gonna get it, but I think we win this one side.
Nice.
Oh my god.
Get it!
Like, you know where like the cleavage is, where like the boobs touch? Or supposed to touch?
No, I've never touched a woman.
Cat Everfrost used not gonna quite hit. There goes a 5-man shield there. Rax going to get caught up in the baby cage. That's going to be a 3-man shockwave in the backline with a big face breaker. That's going to be a showstopper right there. That's
Can't get slowed when he was in Pike's E. I've taken. Nice. Okay. Okay then. I'm gonna try to get you the penta honestly. You never know.
Do I know when we're live?
We're live.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody, to tonight's broadcast of the Risen Divine League, where I am a little bit separated from communication with my producer, but we are back. We're here with Game 1 of Anti-Yuumi Fanclub taking on Purdue University. Everybody coming in predicting Purdue. Bonfire, it's could it be the 3-0 caster curse?
It could be. I mean, I looked at it a little bit closer when we were in our break, and I was like, you know what? Maybe Jinx Lulu carries this game. So it's yet to be seen. I think I value Jinx Lulu. I'm actually going to have to disagree with Slayer a bit higher than Severnami. But, I mean, that's the beauty of these games, right? You never know until you know. And me and Slayer had a sobering realization last week when we were like, oh, these champs are busted. And it's really just about how you play them. So it'll be interesting to see, as right now, Bassini might get a rock to the face.
Taking the early seismic shard, probably not going to make too much of a difference, especially with that Doran's shield, especially when you're playing Aatrox and you have all that intrinsic healing in your kit. But, with this Comet Malphite, the need to pick Doran's shield in the first place and the need to land that poke damage on the Malphite side really apparent, especially in those first few levels. I had a co-caster once who his biggest point every time we saw Malphite was that, if you pick the Comet on your Malphite, you need to go Doran's shield no matter what, and you are basically at risk of getting completely poked out of the lane if you don't. So good call by Bassini to come in here with the Doran's shield in game 1.
Yeah, quietly important to say. Nidus Dawn, go in Doran's ring. Maybe I was wrong about this AP Malphite. Yet to be seen. I will say we are going to see an AP Malphite ultimate at least once in this game, and that is because you brought up a perfect point. Silas can just take it. The new buffed AP Malphite ultimate will get seen whether or not Nidus Dawn goes in. So it'll be interesting to see how powerful that ultimate is on this Silas. Because Silas ultimates can be pretty broken when stolen. I think Blitzcrank ultimate normally as the, hey, this ultimate does a lot of damage when it's not on the normal champ.
Yeah, new ultimate coming in with a ratio buff as well when it does end up stolen away by the Silas. So he's feeling pretty good about the buffs to the champions on the other team. Not so sure how well Night's Dawn and our opponents are really going to have the opportunity to take advantage there, but we'll keep a close eye on it as the steals do end up coming through. That Silas and a Malphite matchup, now they aren't actually playing directly against one another, but that is one of the hardest counter picks in League of Legends, period. But as I say that, Ari, man, coming in for an early gank here, that's going to be a nice pillar to set up for the Absconda Duck. Dricks it up, just trying to peel out and stay alive. Does have to expend the flash, but does manage to survive.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't push that further. I think they're just worried about possibly trading a 1-for-1 where ACS drifts up, has just really good wave clear. So I get it, but I think they could have pushed up a little bit further, but better safe than sorry. Also, just quickly while we have a chance, I think it's also important to mention Bassini did not go Arcane Comet. I think we've seen a lot of Arcane Comet on the Aatrox, normally into ranged, but going for the Conqueror instead. So just going for that later game rather than the laning, and just totally makes sense, right? If you're going into Nidus Dawn as he gets just clapped under tower, no reason to go Arcane Comet as there's just not as much pressure.
Yeah, no, a little bit getting shoved in early on Nidus Dawn, but as long as he can keep up his CS and kind of make his way over to that level 6, he should feel fine. But getting there is going to be tough as he's getting pulled back in by the chains, and now he's going to have to run for the hills. No flash committed from Bassini, no flash used by Night's Dawn, so they do kind of have that ability to create some distance, but it's a rough showing so far as now RL Pones looking for a gank in the bottom lane. Does get the 2-man knock up. Zaknom stepping up a little bit too far here. Has the Ignite ticking on him, falling pretty low as Lowell Valley going to step up, throwing down the boomerangs, getting great damage on the Water Frog and RL Pones, and nobody able to return the damage. Critians trying to spend off Ari Man, who's coming on in here from the top lane, trying to find a pillar, trying to find a way to collapse this gap, and everybody's so low that a flash forward from this Trundle could secure you a kill. The auto attack reset is going to be there. RL Pones, though, with the smite and the chomp, gets a whole health bar back, but is going to lose it just as quickly as Ari Man is looking for the damage. Will have to back out through that Tribe Rush, and nobody's going to end up dropping in the bottom lane.
Yeah, so much damage being pushed out from Lowell Valley. It just looked like he was free hitting the entire time. They just weren't focusing the Sivir. I think it looked like a good dive, that double knockup. You audibly heard me go, ooh, and that was because that was a huge knockup, locking those two people up. But it just didn't end up mattering, and I don't think they knew that Ariman was down there shadowing, and so they were completely caught off guard, and then they just did not pay enough attention to Lowell Valley. Had to burn the Ghost on the Sivir without a kill, but you feel very comfortable about that as Waterfrog actually is able to push this wave in. So not going to lose too much on the Jinx, but it was definitely scary there for a little bit as they were threatening a dive.
I can't believe the discipline from these players to not have anybody use the flash to try to fish for an aggressive kill, though. Ariman could have gone for the auto reset, tried to get a kill that way. Valley could have flashed in to try to get an auto reset off of the boomerang blade, and just nobody does it. I can't promise that they would have gotten the kill, but I can promise that if that was me, I would have no flash right now.
Yeah, they're better than me. I'm using that flash as soon as I see the jungler in lane, and that's probably why, again, I have to keep reiterating, these guys are playing, and I am sitting at home watching. So very good from everyone involved. Also just knowing your limits on their champions. Night's Dawn as well, I just quickly, just pretty much even CS, and has just been completely taking so much damage. Bashini 100% leads the game in champion damage, and it just hasn't mattered. So really good from Night's Dawn absorbing the pressure. Also importantly, Ariman on the Trundle doing a better job ganking than our RL Pawns. So that's surprising, right? You go Nunu because of the gank ability, and the Trundle's just done a better job. So early on, some interesting things being brought out.
Yeah. Night's Dawn really showing the innate unfairness of the Aatrox matchup here. He's trying to avoid the sweet spots and trying to avoid getting pulled in, and in doing that, he's just getting himself out of position and taking more damage overall for it. Now nowhere left to go, does get the ultimate reset, is looking for the kill, the escape, and is going to have to blow the flash as a result. Bashini does still have access to that flash, will be able to close the gap, but gets first blooded. While we look in the bottom lane, Night's Dawn must have found an angle to get another spell off, and does manage to solo kill Bashini one-on-one in the top lane. Bassini's team will try to pick up the dragon as payback there, but a huge win for the Malphite in the top lane.
Yeah, I wish we could see that one again. Hopefully we'll be able to. If not, I can just imagine, I can picture it in my head. You just push up a little bit too far on the Aatrox, your ultimate ends, and suddenly you don't have the tankiness. You don't have the healing that you had when your ultimate was up. And Night's Dawn just throws a rock at you, you're slowed, and he just claps his hand together and goes, you know what, this first blood is mine. The rock showing how important it can be. And going the Bomby Cinder, I was correct, just the early AP with the Doran's Ring, but so far, looking really good from Night's Dawn. LCS teams, this is how you beat LPL teams with the Aatrox, as we're going to get another look at it. Perfect. Thank you to our producer, Caddy. Night's Dawn, this early trading did a perfect job saving ultimate, knowing that they can go with the full combo, and then running away. Bashini doesn't have the ultimate up anymore, and just face checks the brush, seeing if they could get the damage off, and it was the damage the other way that went.
Good use of the bush vision there from Night's Dawn. Just guarantees that he gets 2 hits on before Bashini can get 1 more, and that's enough to close up that health gap. Get him the solo kill for first blood. Waterfrog now pretty far up here, throws down the traps as a cutoff. Now here comes RL Pones looking for the knockup. Will be able to get it on the Saknam, and that's going to be the first kill of the fight. Valley now has to head back out under the turret, trying to stay alive. Will be able to do so at about 300, 400 HP, but has to expend both summoner spells in order to do so, and is now going to be without his support.
There's the Nunu I was expecting to see, just spam gank in the lanes, knowing that they had no clue that he was pushing up there, also knowing Nami doesn't have flash, so even if you don't kill the Sivir, you're still almost always guaranteed a kill. A really good job from Waterfrog as well, quietly just absorbing the pressure, pushing up way too far, selling the fake. You should consider a side job in acting, because I was thinking, what the heck is Waterfrog doing? I look at the minimap and I go, that's what he's doing. They are going to lose the Herald off the back end of it, just knowing that RL Pones is there in the bot lane, but last place has to be careful.
Ooh, Drift King coming through here. RL Pones almost manages to land the snowball onto that Silas, but the abscond out of the way will buy him some time. And now Night's Dawn, so much stronger than this Aatrox off of that recall, has got the item advantage and the level advantage, and is kind of able to bully onto Bassini now a little bit. Has got the Bammy Cinder completed, has got the double cloth armor as well. Means that he can resist the damage enough to just dish out more than he takes, and really that's the secret to winning trades in League of Legends, baby.
Yeah, and that's 100% why this Malphite feels a lot stronger than an Ornn possibly would, or someone else of that caliber, because it's a tank that does sneaky damage. I think that's kind of what people don't expect with Malphite, is the damage that they push out, as it looks like Saknam has an idea that someone might be there, but no one is. But Night's Dawn, I mean, it's just even trading, which is what Bashini didn't want. They're even in levels. There's a kill advantage in the top lane, and it's just not fantastic for the Aatrox to go into. I mean, obviously, he will still be fine. I don't think there's any kill pressure, as I might have to be quiet here.
Yeah, he's a big force in the team fights, but being in a bad position in the one-on-one against this Malphite, it's a rough place to be. He'll probably be able to close up that gap later on as he gets some more items in his pocket and it can deal the damage more, but in the meantime, he might actually end up falling out in CS here and might end up getting killed again if he's not careful. He does pop the ultimate, trying to gain back some more health, but the Unstoppable Force will be enough to close it out. Ahriman now going to try to finish this off, and you gotta believe that the subjugate damage will be enough to close it out eventually. Night is Dawn buying some more time. Ahriman has the flash, though. Night is Dawn not gonna be able to stay alive. It will end up dropping. No flash even needs to be committed from the Trundle. It's a 1-for-1 in the top lane, but another solo kill for the Malphite. He's gonna take that as a W.
Yeah, if you're Anti-Yuumi fan club, you take that every single day of the week, because I might have to be quiet here.
Another dive coming through here. 3 versus 2 in the bottom lane. The lockdown out of the Sivir is perfect. And Law Valley will be the one who falls on down. Now a flash forward into Absolute Zero. Good damage onto Saknam, who will drop next. Ahriman has arrived in the play. Flush off a recall from his kill in the top lane. And he's going to look to make it some more. But now an ultimate in from Drix It Up, trying to clean things up as well. Lopolis will be able to close out 1 kill in the bottom lane, but he loses his life for it. Meanwhile, a shutdown comes through onto RL Pones. There's kills being traded back and forth all over the place in this fight. And it's a 6-3 score line in favor of the Anti-Yuumi fan club.
Yeah, it looked so good at the beginning. They know that there's just no sums bot lane. Saknam did have his flash up at the time, but they were so aware that the Sivir was a sitting duck. This Nunu is getting so tanky right now, able to complete the boots, and so was able to tank up those initial tower shots, and then was able to complete the dive, but then just pushed up just a little bit too far, trying to get that Nami kill, and it just cost them some lives. I think it could have been prevented. Really good job from the Sylas, stealing the ultimate, the crossplay that looked good for ACS, just completely goes the opposite way with the Sylas steal. So it turned out, I believe, 2 for 2 at the back end of it. I think it could have been a 1-for-1, but at the end of the day, I don't think either team is too mad about that, especially Yuumi fan club. They're starting to do really good with these kills, 6 already, and they've looked very clean. It's not really going off of his mistakes, it's just outplaying.
Absolutely here, and doing a good job of trading across the map as well when things start to go a little bit not in their favor. Ahriman shows on the top side. That's their sign to go for the play in the bottom lane, and it ends up positively for them at the end of the day, getting more kills into this Jinx, shutting down this Sivir. In the hyper carry v hyper carry matchup, that's where you want to be.
Yeah, 100%. I think also quietly as we look towards the top lane, a little bit more trading going on. I hope there's not a kill. I have something I want to talk about as they continue to fight. Okay.
Night is Dawn and Bassini, they're never done here, but this time the health bar for Bassini looking a little bit better, going to force the flash out. Meanwhile, we're starting a fight in the bottom for the Dragon. It is going to get stacked up by Ahriman, but now the lockdown comes through, and the blow up from the Absolute Zero damage is just huge to make it a 2-for-1 fight in the bottom lane. Both top laners end up walking away at the end of the day. We didn't forget about it up there, but RL Pones makes so much happen with the Absolute Zero. He loses the Dragon, but he gets himself 2 kills for 1.
Who cares about the top lane when you've got Water Frog going absolutely huge? Don't let the Jinx free hit. They were completely ignoring the Jinxes. I have to stop again.
Yeah, Bassini getting the solo kill, finally managing to close the gap up against that Malphite. Got the flash blown earlier on. One more chains pull-in will be enough to close it out, but let's check out a replay around this Dragon fight, see where all that damage came from, see what happened top as well.
There's a million fights going on. Top lane we obviously saw, we talked about a little bit, but right now they have to fight, right? They're completely in the flip pit right now, and they're not focusing Waterfall. Just look at how much damage that Jinx is able to push out with the ultimate. ACS on the other side completely pincered right there in the bot lane, and then top lane, it was just completely the other side. The Aatrox able to get finally that kill onto the Malphite, as I'm not sure, did Malphite die again in the top lane? I think he did. No, he didn't. I lied. I forgot that Malphite died earlier to the Trundle. I'm a little mistaken. But at the end of the day, the Malphite now 2-2. The Aatrox finally getting that CS advantage that he wants.
Yeah, absolutely here, and pretty sizably as well. You know, he's kind of been able to shrug off those early deaths pretty effectively now, building up the guild lead, getting the Gore Drinker in his pocket, managing to solo kill the Malphite just that one time, does a lot to close it on up, and the difference has got to be pretty low now. You know, between the assist gold and the 20 CS lead, the gold difference shouldn't be substantial.
Yeah, Anti-Yuumi club rocking with a bit of an 1,000 gold lead, and a lot of that is just in this bot lane. A 2,000 gold difference in the bot lane, and that's just because of how well Waterfrog has played these team fights. I talked a lot about that last team fight where he was able to free hit. It doesn't get easier if you're Purdue, as there's more trading in the top lane. Again, please don't kill each other. I promise you, I have a point I want to talk about. Okay, thanks guys, I appreciate
He's
it.
too tanky. He's done. He's gone. The teleport!
Whoa.
The teleport right in his face! Lopless gets it interrupted there. Maybe thought he had a different summoner spell, but is just going to end up TPing in place and getting it interrupted.
That's that's
You know what? Faker made that exact play in groups
Yes.
last week. I'm just saying, it happens to literally the best of us.
This is true. ACS on his way to his Faker arc, and you get a flash for it. So in the bot lane, though, there might be something going on.
There's something going on in all the lanes all the time this game, Bonfire, it seems, but everybody gonna disengage at the same time. You can make your point. Here's your chance.
Yeah, I think JHU Anti-Yuumi Fan Club should change their name to JHU Anti-Bonfire Analyzing Fan Club, because they do not want me to make my points. Most importantly, I think the teleport does get traded out. A really good job from Ariman being able to say, you know what, this, ACS doesn't have the pullback anymore, doesn't have the ability to push us away. Let's try to go for something. ACS respecting that, as he should. And so, a good job making sure that let's just call it a Faker teleport, doesn't go for nothing. But across the map, there's just been fighting. It's just been violence. Just fighting.
Absolutely here, Night is Dawn taking quite a bit of damage here at risk of getting dove. They are going to just throw down the Rift Herald to try to close out this turret, and now Night's Dawn nowhere really left to go. He does have access to the Unstoppable Force, could create a lot of distance that way, but probably not going to be able to do too much else. But here comes Drixit up to back up his top laner. Here comes RL Pones as well, and just like that, it's a 3 versus 2, getting engaged on a Bassini. Gets CC'd up, but he's just tanking up everything and just speeding right through it with the World Ender. Night's Dawn going to be the one to fall down at the end of the day as Bassini picks up that kill. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, finding a chance to engage onto Low Valley, but nice spell shield to block out on the zap. Waterfrog will be able to pick up the turret gold, but won't be able to get anything else on the backside.
Yeah, that's a balanced champion. That's definitely a balanced champion. Just within 3, and that's just perfect for the last hit of the Q. Just does so much damage to everyone. The healing as well, the Gore Drinker completed, and so, yeah, you could try to take down the Aatrox, but I think if you do not have Waterfrog in any of these fights, good luck with that. Waterfrog being the majority of their damage. This ACS Drixtup can do damage when they're not focusing you, but as you can see in that fight was just in the middle of everything, and I mean Aatrox loves that. Aatrox thrives off of that and just ends up turning the tides.
Absolutely here, loving the Gore Drinker off of 3 targets there, gets so much HP back and is going to be feasting for it. Now 30 CS lead, 2-2-1, has the bounty on him. Probably one of the, not the strongest champion on the map. Gotta look at Waterfrog, though, as well, who is just going to be able to pump out so much DPS if they can get their fight lines set up appropriately. That's a big if so far, though. Night's Dawn and RL Pones not been able to get into position for a lot of these team fights so far. They've kind of just been 3-on-3, 4-on-4 skirmishes. Top laners mostly not getting involved yet. And this is going to be Dragon number 3 for Purdue if they can get to it. And it doesn't look like there's going to be any contestants from the Anti-Yuumi fan club.
Yeah, and I'm actually very surprised about that. You really hate giving up 3rd Dragon unless you're really far behind. They're actually up about 200 gold, so it doesn't actually matter when it comes to the scaling of these champions with items. But at the end of the day, when you're even, you really want to fight these. They're going for the... very close rocket. Doesn't end up landing. I think it just comes down to vision. They had no vision in the pit, had no idea if they were going for a bush camp. Meanwhile, for the side of Purdue, look at the vision they have littered around the dragon. Look at the minimap. They just have so many red wards everywhere. Meanwhile, Anti-Yuumi Fan Club didn't feel comfortable clearing them out, and so they just sacked the dragon. Could end up costly later in the game.
Now, Waterfrog, a whole item up on Valley here. They are not going to want to brawl this out in any context. They're going to want to split this map and avoid that jinx wherever possible for the foreseeable future, especially since they're doing such a good job of getting themselves up to that Dragon Soul. This is not a matchup that favors the Sivir at all at this point. The range disadvantage, the item discrepancy, making this very tough, and means that this mid-turret, probably not too long for this world, but Waterfrog takes a lot of damage, but doesn't even care, just steps forward with the shield, pumping out damage, takes a turret shot as well. Has got to be at least a little bit worried about his health bar at this point, but he's got the backup to just back away and feel safe.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect example of how this Jinx feels. Oh, I'm taking a tower shot. Hey, Nunu. Hey, Malphite. Hey, Lulu. Come help me out real quick. Waterfrog is get down Mr. President this game. Waterfrog is really, I think, their only chance of getting into this game in a comfortable spot, because if Waterfrog goes down early in a fight, it can spell disaster for the side of Anti-Yuumi fan club. That's not to say that the fight would be over. I still think they have a good amount of damage and lockup, but it's not nearly as good if Waterfrog can survive. And so I think keep an eye on the Sylas stealing the ultimates. We talked about it earlier in the game, the AP scaling on some of these ultimates that he can steal. If he can get an ultimate onto this Jinx that'll have healther, best of luck to Anti-Yuumi fan club. That's probably a lost fight.
Very, very likely here, as now going to be potential setup around the Baron, spawning in about 30 seconds. Everybody's at least posturing for some vision control around it and for this Scuttle Crab. Ahriman going to start it up. Night's Dawn is in vision. Could at least try to steal it away. Not going to end up getting it. Ahriman snags the Speed Shrine and just returns to his jungle.
We'll give that an NT in chat. That's a nice try. Good luck. Good try, Malphite. Appreciate it. You know, you got to go for them. If you miss, what's the quote? You miss 1,000% of the shots you don't take, something like that. So got to go for the Scuttle. A little bit of a crabber right there, but best of luck. Waterfrog again, just taking tower shots. But I mean, with the Lulu, look at that look at that shield. Holy moly.
It's pretty big, and you know, Waterfrog. Oh my goodness! Speaking of big things, the damage there, Bassini getting Drixit up incredibly low here, as now it is just going to be Bassini clearing that one up. Hits the Gore Drinker for the regen. The missile coming pretty close, but Bassini going to definitely evade it there, and will be winning out in this side lane still. In the Aatrox fully online at this point, on fire.
Yeah, Bassini get a little bit of a haircut right there on Aatrox, but you know, types in chat, doesn't, you know, not even close, baby, and just gets the solo bolo in the side lane. And that's just kind of what you can expect when you have an Aatrox and a Sylas in the side lane. Who can really match them? ACS definitely can't. Night's Dawn can, but then you're losing out on a lot of team fight ability. And you know, teleport's up right now, but if he has teleport down, it's not nearly as good. I think important to notice, I didn't notice this early in the game, ACX Strixtup taking the Unsealed Spellbook on the Taliyah, and so Barrier is going to be currently used. Had the Ignite earlier, just used it onto Bassini, so it should be interesting to see if that Barrier can come into use possibly later in the game, because you saw it on Bassini, had in a different use, had the stopwatch to try to outplay. It's the same thing with Barrier. They think they know how much damage you can take, and you just say, you know what, maybe I could take a little bit more. But I think right now ACX Strixtup, I'd actually like to see the gold if our producers can allow it. Feels pretty weak. Thank you so much. You know, kind of even with the mid lane, but if you look at the solo laners as a whole, down to the bot lane of the enemy team, down to the top lane of the enemy team, almost down to the jungle of the enemy team. And so Purdue has done a really good job of making sure that this Taliyah is just not nearly as strong as a Taliyah can be.
Absolutely here, and you can really see who the big carries on each team are. About a 1.5k gold lead individually for Bassini and a 2k gold lead individually for Waterfrog. These are the two players you got to keep your eyes on throughout this game, as Bassini getting into a fight but is very outnumbered on this half of the map, at least until the rest of his teammates can arrive. Just kind of brawling it out with the Malphite here, the strongest target on either side as far as damage resistance goes, but now a TP being channeled from the base by Laplace. It is going to be a full 5-on-5 for this next dragon in about 20 seconds. Night is Dawn taking a bunch of damage here, and now a little bit cut off from the rest of his team. Will he be able to avoid the subjugate? Doesn't actually get used by Ahriman, but now the stasis, nowhere left to go. Night is Dawn left in the middle of everybody. Subjugate does get used, and this Malphite is now just made of paper as he gets ripped through, but that's gonna be a fully channeled Absolute Zero. Doesn't actually even do that much damage to Bassini, who is popped off in the World Ender, getting the resets, moving forward onto the Lulu, will get shut down as well, and now Bassini and Laplace chasing down on a Waterfrog, looking for the shutdown on this crucial target, and there it goes, the double kill picked up for Bassini, and this is gonna be a complete ace for Purdue University. Triple kill picked up, Dragon Soul picked up, and this game is blown wide open.
Yeah, guys, you're supposed to make it not look easy. You're supposed to make this look like a difficult team fight. They just played that so incredibly well, making it look like it's against starter bots. Just so good. It was just individual 3v1s the entire time. There wasn't a time that Anti-Yuumi fan club felt comfortable fighting as 5. They were completely split At first it was Night's Dawn, and then it was RL Pawns, and then it was Waterfrog, and finally Drixtup was the one that went down for the ace. And so just a fantastic job making sure that nobody felt comfortable. We're going to see the replay right here. I want to go through this. Night's Dawn just completely caught out from the rest of his team, just looking for an ultimate angle. But the mid wave's being cleared right now from Waterfrog, so they don't have all of their damage. They're just trying to stay away from this. Night's Dawn finally able to clear out the mid lane, and so now they have 5. But then look at Bashini. They've done a fantastic job of keeping the Malphite away from everybody. Now there's the ultimate utilized from the Nunu, excuse me. And now look at Waterfrog, completely away from all the rest of his team. The Lulu completely caught in the pit, just not able to do anything. And now it's a 5-on-2. It's just run for the hills. But Bashini says the hills will not save you right now. A really good job locking up this Jinx. And just, I mean, it's Deucence. That's just dusted right there.
Absolutely there. Night's Dawn just too far away from the rest of the team, disrespects the potential damage that can come through, both with and without that subjugate from the Trundle, you know? The Trundle alone should make you very wary about being caught out alone like that, because you just aren't as tanky as you think you are. But he loses about half his HP before the subjugate even gets used. The just consistent damage coming through from the members that he's isolated himself with is enough to close out the kill. And now Bassini on 3 items off the back of that triple kill is just massive for these upcoming fights.
Yeah, I also don't like talking about when players make missed plays. I feel like, you know, they don't need to know that. They know what they did wrong, but I was completely surprised that Night's Dawn opted to use the stopwatch that early when you have ultimate and flash up, because you can use those ultimates a lot better. Meanwhile, or you can use those cooldowns a lot better. With the stopwatch, it's a one-time purchase, and it doesn't get you out of the fight. Use the stopwatch, I think, possibly to think that maybe the team will come and you can use the ultimate immediately after, but that was not the case, and it was kind of a death stopwatch because it locked him in place, allowed the members of Purdue University to get close to him, and just ended up not being what I think he imagined he wanted to do.
Yeah. Good hands on it. I mean, did to block out the abduct there from the Silas, but maybe not the most tactically efficient use. Does appear to be working towards the Zonia, so should have access to more, as that's a big catch onto Valley, who is going to be forced to flash away. The sustain from the Yuumi, the block on the Super Mega Death Rocket will be enough to keep Valley alive, but that is a crucial summoner spell on a crucial target used by Purdue. Nice catch by Drixtup.
Yeah, does a fantastic job of defending their base. The Baron obviously was picked up from Purdue, so it's a little bit of Balloons Tower's defense right now, and sometimes the monkeys are stronger. The Balloon's not able to crack the base yet. Man, I loved that game when I was a kid. I hate to go on a bit of a tangent. I lied, I love going on tangents, but Balloon Tower defense was a fantastic game, as right now we're getting a bit of a reminiscent of that right now.
The damage onto RL Pwns, you know, the front line for the side of the Anti-Yuumi fan club, it's just not strong enough to stand up to this Infernal Soul team of Purdue, and that's really what they need to execute. Is there's going to be a big Malphite ultimate in from Laplace, using that unstoppable force to just blow up the back line of the Anti-Yuumi fan club. Drixtup going to be the last damage dealer left standing. Bassini going to chase him down and rip right through him with pretty much a full health bar, basically healing against the opposition at this point, as that's going to be the complete 5-for-0 ace, and that's going to be game number 1 for Purdue. The caster prediction ends up being correct this time around.
Complete domination from the Boilermakers, and it just comes down to individual play. A little bit of BM with the emotes right there, but a fantastic job from Purdue, making that one look easy. There wasn't a team fight, I think, in the entire game that either of us were like, oh, it could go either way. It was just complete domination once it got to that later stage of the game, and huge shout out to Bashini for going 0-2 early on, not really where you want to be as the Aatrox, and working his way back into it.
We got Slayer back on the desk here. Welcome back, Slayer. No, you've been tuning in throughout the entire game number 1, but you know, only a couple of real team fights there.
Yeah, it was a very weird. It was a weird change from last week. The matches we saw where it seemed like every single minute there was some sort of skirmish going on, but nonetheless, the team fights that happened were super impactful, to say the least. And it was really intriguing because when we talked about matchups, right, and the reason why we bagged Purdue, a lot of those matchups that we favor for the Boilermakers, Gordo, early on in that game were actually seemingly going the way of the Anti-Yuumi fan club.
Absolutely there. I mean, Anti-Yuumi fan club got some good fights early on. They won what was going on in the bottom lane pretty often. They got their Jinx super fed. The problem is, you know, you need to transition that into some successful team fights, and they had their do or die team fight as basically the first one because they gave up that third dragon, and they lost it. They lost it pretty hard as they lost their front line pretty early on, and the Jinx didn't really get to do her magic. So ended up just not being successful here. I think we got a replay coming up for that big first team fight right now.
Yeah, so in case you missed it, we're going to take you on through the first main team fight here. And the name of the game here is really just lack of correct positioning, maybe one would take you through. I mean, you see Night's Dawn is off to the side. He's been fighting this Aatrox all game long, but gets caught up by the rest of the Boilermakers. He gets separated, and Bonfire pointed out perfectly a couple of times. Not the best stopwatch right there. Drops it, immediately has to flash away. He tries to ult and turn, but by this point, he's just 1-on-3, and that basically becomes the trend going forward. A good absolute zero from Aro Pawns, but the main thing here is your Fed AD carry, Waterfrog, is on the other side of the Drake pit, so the Nunu falls with a lack of damage, and when you get an Aatrox going forward like that, level 15, not much else for you to do but to see a gray screen, and it was just an absolute roll for Purdue here. They ended up acing, it secured that Drake, and Bonfire, you know, obviously that fight looked really good for Purdue, but I feel like it also highlighted a lot of the issues we saw from JHU Anti-Yuumi Fanclub.
Yeah, looking like an LCS team right there, just sacking everything until it got to the do or die point, and then they died, which has been I mean, it's been a staple in a lot of games we've seen in Worlds this year. They adapted the same thing, you know, they had that early advantage, and it didn't feel like they did enough with it. And by the time they got to that late game when they had the Fed Jinx, they finally pushed the go button. But the thing is, like you talked about, if they do not get the correct engage, they die, and Knight's Dawn just didn't get the correct engage. I think we're harping on that stopwatch, but there's a lot on his plate. He needs to look for a good ultimate. He needs to stay alive. He needs to tank. And I think doesn't have the vision, doesn't know that everyone's there, and makes a bit of a blunder that cost them the game.
Yeah, I think us having spectate view really biased on us a lot in our criticism of that particular play. Very probably did not realize just how many members of Purdue were coming down that ramp to cut him off.
Well, I definitely know our final replay here. He had a pretty good idea of who was coming down the ramp for the ceremonious final team fight. We'll take you through that one. Purdue busting the base open with Baron Nashor here. Simple siege that turns into an absolute cleanup here. You get to see at a bit of the end there. You see Silas Laplates pick up a beautiful double stolen Malphite ultimate. They clean up under tower. A couple stopwatches get picked up, but once again, this is the trope here. Bashini, you cannot run away from this Aatrox, level 16, about 3 items deep here. Just so much healing, so much damage overall. It's an ace, and like you saw if you've been watching all along, about 30 seconds later, yep, we get a nice little speed up here. They just knock down the Nexus. So for University, they validate the casters, and they get a very big Game 1 win. So, Gordo, I guess my question now for you is, from what you saw from Game 1 for the JHU Anti-Yuumi fan club, what do you think they did right, and what do you think they have to really work on for Game 2?
I think their playing around bot lane was pretty effective, and that means that if they're going to prioritize champions like this Jinx, that's probably a good game plan for them. They just need to work on their dragon setups, A, and they need to do their dragon setups, period, 2, B, you know, A and 2, whatever. You know, they donated quite a few Drakes, and probably probably 1 or 2 too many, given that they weren't able to execute on that last fight. And then, you know, their execution wasn't very great on the 4th dragon either. So they ended up just giving over so many. You know, in that last fight, that was pretty much a formality at that point. You know, the fight was executed very well by Purdue, to the point that, you know, that could have even been a kind of comeback fight win if they had been behind in gold. But they were also so far ahead that even without that great Malphite ultimate to blow up the Jinx, they probably win anyway. Just maybe not quite so hard.
Yeah, maybe not as quite as hard, but it was a big win nonetheless. Now, Bonfire, before we go to break here, you know, how does it feel to be, you know, to get a prediction right again, back on top? Just want to, how are you feeling over there after finally getting back in the win column, huh?
I think we're blowing this up a little bit too much. I get my predictions right most of the time. Obviously, I have a little bit of a reputation of throwing out some hot takes that get proven wrong. Slayer knows all about that in our personal lives, talking traditional sports and esports as a whole. But sometimes my hot takes are right. This felt like a freezing cold take for Purdue University, steamrolling every opponent they've gone into. JHU fan club, just Anti-Yuumi fan club, just on the wrong end of the sword. So it'll be interesting to see if JHU has any answer for the Boilermakers, because they have just been dominant in Divine as a whole. Can anybody take down this team?
Well, JHU still has a shot right now because, like every single Divine week, it's a best of 3. So to see if the Anti-Yuumi fan club can punch back, or if we're all going home early, we're going to take one more break. But on the other side, we'll set up for draft 2 for game number 2 between JHU Anti-Yuumi fan club and Purdue University.
Like, you know where like the cleavage is, where like the boobs touch? Or supposed to touch?
No, I've never touched a woman.
Cat Everfrost used not gonna quite hit. There goes a 5-man shield there. Rax going to get caught up in the baby cage. That's gonna be a 3-man shockwave in the backline with a big face breaker. That's gonna be a showstopper right there. That's
Can't get slowed when he was in Pike's D. I have to, Nice. Okay. Okay then. I'm gonna try to get you the penta on him. You ever know? You can't die with him. It's gonna get dog.
Can go. I mean, I have flash in a second.
Oh my god! He teleports on the side of CCW. They might try to go for a pick here. Box Prime has to be careful. Doesn't know they're all there. This could be the pick they want, but you have to be careful as well, though. They're gonna burst him down. Box Prime dies before anyone else can go in. They don't get the second call of the force dive, and here we go. Here comes the Vlad. Keep an eye on the Vlad. Vlad on the back line. There's a double knockout. Keep an eye on the Vlad. Vlad gets one of them. Vlad's able to get 2 of them unbound. He's gonna survive on the back end of it, but they're gonna be able to kill the Anivia. And there's 2 dead on the side of CCW. Can they get more? There's the Vlad. Can they get the knockup on Asthmatic Boy? Can he get the blast kill? No, he can't. He's gonna fall incredibly low. They're gonna keep going in. Team Shooter is gonna be able to get the root. They're gonna try to find more. They're gonna find everyone. But there's the kill. Unbound. He's doing it all. Unbound is doing it all. Give it out. Unbound. Unbound's killing them all. Unbound is winning this game.
Okay. You guys good?
They're definitely gonna get it, but I think we win this one, guys.
Nice.
Oh my god.
Get it!
Welcome back, everybody, to the analyst desk here for game number 2. We're getting set here to get through draft. We're speeding a little bit along through. I guess that's the art of getting to break down a couple of replays. Means the players kind of want to run through and get into the second game. It certainly feels like JHU Anti-Yuumi fan club would like to get into game 2, and hopefully, Gordo, they do somewhat of a mental reset after game 1.
Yeah, and I think they had, they showed some good stuff in game number 1. That it feels stompy because there weren't a lot of team fights, but it was pretty close for a while there. And we were saying on the cast, there was a moment there where Aatrox and Jinx were the two big champions. Jinx was actually farther ahead than the Aatrox was. They just really did not get the team fight that they needed at all. So you could adjust that if you could find your team fight angles, and that's not an impossible task by any means to be able to adjust from game to game. Then they might have a much better shot. I think they perform really well through the bottom lane, and I wouldn't try to change that if I were them.
Well, certainly something. Yeah, like you mentioned, a lot of great areas to go through, and Bonfire. When we look at that top lane matchup, I mean, the Malphite was winning for a good portion of it, right?
Yeah, I think Malphite always is, or Aatrox is always going to find his groove because he's busted. But he also does a lot of things that's correct, and getting that farm lead was kind of the beginning to the end for the Malphite. I don't think also you're picking the Malphite because you want to stop the Aatrox. It just happened to be that the two kills went the way of the Malphite early on. So I expected Bashini to still be strong later in the game. I just wasn't expecting Knight's Dawn to fall off as hard as he did. I think we were all expecting the Malphite to do a lot more in team fights and solo lanes and side laning and a whole lot more. And I mean, to be honest, I hate to be the bearer, to say again, I don't want to rag on Knight's Dawn. I thought he had a good game early, but you would have loved to see that Malphite have a much bigger impact later in the game, and we just didn't see it.
Yeah, really didn't get to see it. Mostly, because we saw some of the highlights and maybe not the best positioning at points, but by the time it came for those big, unstoppable force ultimates to come around, it just wasn't impactful enough. But Gordo, now we're moving on to game 2, fresh slate, but you obviously want to have some of game 1 in the back of your mind. Do you think we might see any targeted bans from either of these sides? And what are you thinking on that front regardless?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if they're swapping sides or not. If you're not, then maybe don't worry about it. If you are swapping sides, maybe don't worry about it too much. But if you are not swapping sides, maybe ban the Aatrox, I mean, it couldn't hurt. Take it off the board. You can let Graves through. You can't let Yuumi through because that like kind of hurts the whole team dynamic. But you could you could drop the Graves ban or the Viego ban for sure. But it looks like they are swapping sides, so yeah, now definitely ban the Aatrox.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, Gordo, we are in the draft here. Sorry to cut you off, Bonfire. This is a weird thing for all of us. We're doing a bit of a try draft, I guess is what I want to call it out. I'm here for draft by popular demand, and going through bans so far, pretty standard to game 1, right, Bonfire?
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of the same bands, Lulu being the first targeted ban we're seeing. I think the Jinx did a fantastic job, just didn't get unleashed. And I think Purdue knows that. They know that if things go a little differently, then the Jinx was able to carry, but Purdue was gifted Aatrox again, somehow, some way.
Who could have predicted this? I mean, it was really impossible to know that this would happen. So you can't really put the blame onto JHU Anti-Yuumi fan club. They will go for the Poppy in response though, so already changing some stuff up about their draft.
Yeah, and Gordo, I know you're a big fan. We were talking in between the break from draft game 1 to game 1. Actually, the interesting dichotomy of these champions that are built to combat specific comps, but funnily enough, they are still very strong picks currently in the meta. Poppy is one of those that you see are 1 to 4, the JHU Anti-Yuumi fan club. But another one that immediately sticks out to me, Bonfire. We talked about the Syndra changes. We're gonna get a Syndra on this game too.
New Syndra, new Oriana. That's halfway a joke. They just, she was bugged, so they fixed
Not
that.
bugged Oriana.
Yeah, exactly. It's she's not a bug, she's a robot. So they did change that. But I'm happy to see the new Oriana or the new Syndra. I'm the drafts are just all over the place. I'm watching them as they happen in real time, and I'm like, what is going on?
This is a solo queue draft. Nobody's even going to trade champions. They're just picking for their own roles across the board, both teams. There's that Maokai. That was banned last game. That's going to get locked in support. This is a Triflex champion. Nobody really seems to be using it that way. When he gets first picked, he seems like he's always a jungler. And even when he does end up flex to support, apparently it's because he's last picked. But that's a fun extra addition. And with the Samira in the bottom lane, that's a spicy pairing.
I will say, Gordo, the reason why they all picked for their lanes is because they probably already went through. We didn't get to see the draftable side, so they have the draftable draft already, so they've picked for their champions. But I do think I got to make the pun. A tri-flex champion for the tri-flex analyst draft. That beautiful. That's poetic. Maokai, yes, he will be going to that support position with the Samira. It will be very, very intriguing. But another intriguing pick here, Bonfire, I want to hear you touch on. We saw the Nunu, which maybe isn't necessarily in the high tier of jungle meta picks right now, against a Trundle. Switch the junglers for the Trundle pick, but a Nocturne is now going to be the answer. What do you make of that?
I love Nocturne. I have always loved Nocturne. He falls off so incredibly hard, but his ultimate will always be useful because suddenly you can only see slightly in front of your face. And so even if this Nocturne is 0-45, which I don't imagine he'll be, but if he ever gets to that point, doesn't matter because the ultimate is still incredibly useful in team fights. I think also if you're fed, then you can just jump on somebody and nobody can see. So I'm a huge fan of Nocturne. Quietly, I just have to ask you guys: is Sivir Navi like huge now? Am I going crazy, or what's happening? Because Lucian wasn't even banned.
Yeah, it is for Waterfog and Cridians for sure. I mean, so part of this draft gets real difficult to analyze because I can't really tell what's a counter pick to what since it seems like they completed the draft lull off screen. Thanks for that context, Slayer. So it's hard to tell what exactly, like, were the Maokai and Poppy flex picks? Were they counter picks? Was the Sivir picked before the second round of bans? Oh, hey, look, now we can kind of see that. At least I can.
Oh,
It
yeah,
doesn't
we
look like
can.
it's coming through on the mainstream, but Maokai was the first pick, so it looks like the last pick was Syndra. All right, so I'm not going to go through piece by piece and say what was a counter pick to what, but it does look like then that Purdue, they started with their strong front line plus the Samira, and they rounded it out later on and ended up flexing that Maokai to support. So definitely a cool way to end up assembling your comp here for Purdue, but it's going to need to win early, and it's going to need to win through this bot lane. That Sivir-Nami duo, still going to be a powerful scaling duo, even though it's, I don't really understand the priority on these two champions in particular together either, especially, just when there's other enchanters available, but they end up going for it here, and it's still going to be powerful in the late game.
Yeah, there's still a powerful late game pick. We'll see if it plays out. Don't got too much more time on the spectator delay, so we're going to fire through these predictions now. We have an idea of how these drafts played out. Bonfire, you went first last time. I went last, so we'll switch up the meta on the analyst desk even.
Okay.
I am actually going to still roll with Purdue for one exact reason here. I think Ari Man picked the Nocturne to turbo camp his bot lane. I think this bot lane, Samira Maokai, can work if they both can win early and commit together very, very hard, jumping on the enemy backline. We'll see how that plays out. I'm gonna roll with them for that exact reason. Gordo, you running with me, or are you switching it up because of that bot lane combination?
I am gonna go with Purdue again here. I do think I like JHU Anti-Yuumi Fan Club's draft just a teeny bit more, but it's not going to be enough for me. I liked the play I saw out of Purdue. I love the Aatrox. I love the Maokai. When you give those two champions up together at Worlds, it always wins you the game. I think that duo has a 100% win rate. It's got to. So I'm gonna give Purdue the benefit of the doubt there.
I am again going to be the black sheep on the analyst desk,
Oh
and I'm
boy.
okay with that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I know I'm not because for a lot of reasons, but I think one of the biggest ones being the Samira is just going to struggle a lot, and that's a lot of their damage output. They have the Nocturne and the Orianna, but so much of their damage hinges on that Samira, and I think it just gets really difficult for the Samira to do anything when there's a pillar in her way, when she can't dash in onto a Poppy through people. It just gets really hard for this Samira to play the game. And so on the other side, you've got a Sivir who can just free hit. So I think it just gets way too difficult for the side of Purdue University to get through all of those, big tanky boys. And because of that, I'm gonna go with my boys from JHU.
Bonfire rocking the very dark, likely black sweater piece, and he makes the black sheep joke. I love it. Well, to figure out if Bonfire is going to break the streak of losing to me and Gordo in predictions, and if Purdue University can sweep this one out in two, we're going to get to a quick break here. But on the other side, game number 2, Purdue University versus JHU Anti-Yuumi Fan Club. Stick around.
No brakes on this train, baby. We're getting right into game number 2. Purdue coming in on the blue side once again. Is that correct? Yes, it is. It is Purdue now on the blue side for the first time, not once again. and Anti-Yuumi fan club coming through on the red side.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. Whenever I have to wonder which team's on which side, I just look at Bashini because he's always on that Aatrox, it feels like. We didn't even talk about it. Aatrox was picked 6, I believe. Like, just like, Yuumi Fan Club had a chance, I think, with with 2 different picks to pick up the Aatrox. They have a plan with Night's Dawn. And I mean, you could believe in Night's Dawn. One out lane just ended up not winning out the game. So they feel like Aatrox actually is containable.
Absolutely do here. Going to be keeping a close eye on how Ariman can get his pathing through this game. Our opponents found a couple of angles to make some early plays last game. Last game, of course, he was facing off against the Trundle, didn't actually get it in his own hands. So now he's the stronger duelist. He could beat out this Nocturne if he ends up finding him in the early game. And he's going to be the one trying to hunt for Ariman and try to disrupt some of that early clear coming through from the Nocturne. Because once he gets that level 6, he's going to be ganking every opportunity that he gets. And he should be finding plenty of opportunities as he's got great gank set up in basically all of his lanes.
Yeah, that R key should just be completely down to the bone after this game. Ariman should just be spamming that ult, and I mean that's just Nocturne things. We'll call it that. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, I correct me if I'm wrong. I think this is like the most played mid lane matchup of all time. Syndra Orianna. Can you name a more League of Legends mid lane matchup?
It's got to be up there, like it feels like these last couple seasons have been Victor Corky has
Victor's good.
definitely
Yeah,
got to
yeah,
be up
yeah.
there. Also, like you might have to get LeBlanc in there. LeBlanc's like one of the most
LeBlanc's
played
good.
champions of all time. So
Maybe Rise.
maybe, yeah. And it really is Rise even the same champion every season though? As
It's
Bassini
exactly.
down a level, finally does hit that level 2, but Nightstone has had a huge amount of time to just brawl with him with the level
Ooh.
advantage. Bassini flashes back, only really avoids half the damage from that aftershock.
Oh,
Now
good
gets
stun!
slammed into the wall. Bassini on the verge of getting solo killed for the second game in a row, and it happens once again. Early lead to Nightstone.
Aatrox, who? Aatrox, who? This Poppy showing who the real overpowered champion is. Night's Dawn again on another tank champion, impressing me with the early game knowledge of what the champion's limits are. In no point in that fight was the go button not pressed played so incredibly well. I saw what Bassini was trying to do by flashing the second burst of damage from the Q from the Poppy, but at the end of the day, did not end up mattering. Night's Dawn got the shield up, did get a fantastic job of getting that vision up as well. Just gets to walk his way back to lane. Feels so bad if you're the Aatrox. Has to burn the teleport. The only thing you're very happy about is the wave management has about 10 more CS than the Poppy because of the early fighting. And Poppy just didn't really care about it. And Aatrox just kind of, even while fighting, was able to get some of that damage off. But wow, really good job. Night's Dawn impressing me.
Absolutely here. We'll be keeping a close eye here as Saknam actually flashes forward there, looking for the twisting advance angle. Can't quite find it. They were tired of Maokai Jungle back in Season 2. They reduced that range. And unfortunately, Saknam going to pay the price for it here in 2022, 10 years later. Now, going to be down that flash, doesn't have the Hex Flash. Ariman, though, finds Predience face-checking into him, and that's going to be the flash expended, but Bassini about to drop again. RL Pones arrives to the top lane, keeps ganking the winning lane, and is going to set Night's Dawn up to a 2-0 start.
I'm having flashbacks. Gordo, I'm having flashbacks to game 1. Now Night's Dawn, all Night's Dawn needs to do is just keep it going for the rest of the game. Last game was not able to do that against the Aatrox, but right now is able to, as realizing that Spell Shield exists, and he is not able to get the roots that he wants. But a fantastic job from Night's Dawn. That stun must have been max range getting it into the wall. Bashini learning the hard way, and now that early advantage of the CS is surely to be lost because both sums still up for this Poppy, and there are no sums on this Aatrox.
Yeah, gonna be keeping a close eye on this Syndra Orianna matchup now as well, because Syndra, kind of the classic Orianna response. She's traditionally been a lane bully, but now the Q's got a much longer cooldown, and now the whole champion has had its power shifted into the later game, where you want to stack up those shards to be able to get the upgrades to your abilities rather than just relying on levels to do it. So the lane dichotomy might get mixed up a little bit here. So far, we've seen Drixtup having a great job in the mid lane here. And as I'm saying that, the fight's going to break out in the bottom lane. Saknam jumps in, does get a nice knock-up onto Cridians, but RL Pones is all over the map, and he's going to be arriving just in time. Waterfrog going to end up picking up the kill onto Saknam. Valley wisely choosing to back away upon seeing RL Pones arriving to the lane, will be able to stay alive, but that's going to be another bot lane winning for the side of the Anti-Yuumi fan club. Another top lane winning for the side of the Anti-Yuumi fan club. This game is well in their control.
Yeah, I might actually not be able to talk now.
All right, Night is Dawn going to be falling pretty low once again. The advantage just doesn't feel like it means anything in this top lane. You know, he's got the Sheen, he's got the item lead, but he's just taking so much damage from so many Darken Blades, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. Night's Dawn realizing that even with the one kill and the assist, it's still an Aatrox you're going into, and you're still a tank. So I'd like to see a little bit more farming, because that advantage will matter a lot more in the later game. Not really in the one-on-one, but a fantastic job. I mean, Cridians was doing so much damage. Hopefully we can get a replay of that 3v3 in the bot lane, and it just felt like the Maokai went in just a little bit too early.
Now Night is Dawn fighting up against Bassini once again. Gets the ulti off. No ulti for Bassini. Missing another Darken Blade. Goes back for the Butler. Will have the time with the movement speed. This is another solo kill. Night is Dawn wins it up once again. The Aatrox cannot stand up to this Poppy. And shortly at some point, Night is Dawn is just going to become unbeatable in these fights.
Yeah, ignore me, I guess. I was saying that, you know, that doesn't feel like it's a winning top lane. You can't really 1v1, and I was just proven wrong. I think a lot of it hinges on getting that stun off. Being able to get the stun matters so much, as we are going to get a replay of the bot fight from a little bit ago. Look at how much damage Cridians is doing right now. Saknam already down to about 40%, along with the AD carry, and then it just goes in and with no knowledge of the jungler, trying to get that trade-off onto Cridians, possibly burst the Nami down. Oh my goodness, was not able to, and ends up being a dead Nami. Low Valley does a very good job of being able to get away. All Pawns is like half a step away from being able to fight, just not able to, but you feel comfortable with a little bit of a fish dinner.
Here's an opportunity to move on to Waterfrog here. Does have access to the spell shield. Will wisely immune that twisting advance. You'd see Saknam and Valley both trying to squeeze in abilities to pop the shield. It just doesn't end up working out. And now with no flash on the Maokai, he's got nowhere really left to go. Going to try to knock him away with the Bramble Smash. Actually does a pretty good job of doing exactly that. Dodging out, going to be able to stay alive. Waterfrog taking too much damage from Valley. Will have to back away. And Saknam gets himself out of a sticky situation.
Yeah, very precarious, just knowing how much damage they can take. As we go back to more brawling in the top lane, doesn't look like anyone's going to die for it. But yeah, no, in the bot lane, really good job from the Maokai. I think also Low Valley, if he's level 6 like he is now in that fight, it does not go as, you know, nobody gets killed. I think that, you know, Sivir is as good as dead. Unfortunately, did not have level 6, and so was not able to finish off that kill onto the Sivir. But it goes to show that even with Maokai not really having so much of an early game presence, still a very tanky bot lane that should be respected. And once that ultimate comes up as well, this Maokai will really come online.
So let's check in on Syndra. How many Splinters of Wrath is she sitting on right now? 42. So she's just gotten her first upgrade. That's the one to the Q, where you can now store 2 Q charges. Let's see how that ends up interacting with this matchup up against the Orianna. She's done a good job of landing the Qs thus far to be able to push back Laplace. In theory, that should get way easier and way stronger now.
Yeah, also done a fantastic job of just making sure the Orianna is just not getting a huge CS advantage, making sure that the Orianna is not pushing in and getting roam advantage. The Syndra, even with that early game being weakened a lot, still doing a fantastic job. And that's just ACS. We saw ACS on the Taliyah last game be very good, as we have to go to the top right now.
All right, Bassini on the verge of winning the one-on-one yet again, but we've seen him in this position before, and it has kind of not gone his way. But this time around, looks like it's going to be the forced recall. Bones is here. Ariman is here as well, and with access to the ultimate, could be a dive angle onto Night's Dawn, but, you know, the risk of the counter dive from RL Bones might be a little bit too high. Ariman might be forced to flash here. He's going to be able to get that fear, but it's just not going to be enough, going to be taken away. But now Laplace shows up just in time and turns around with the damage. RL Bones and Night's Dawn fall down to the face of this powerful Orianna, and that's going to be 2 kills for 0 picked up at the top lane for Purdue University.
Oh my god, they just went into melee range of Aatrox again. And even if you're an 0-2 or 0-3, excuse me, Aatrox, I just guess it doesn't matter. Aatrox still doing what felt like 1 billion damage. I think you also have to keep an eye on LaPlace, like you talked about, doing a fantastic job. Was the benefactor of one of those kills, just barely able to not get that Nocturne. And in the end, they all ran up to try to get it, and they all got CC'd by the Aatrox. Damage also there. I'd love to see a replay. Just curious how much damage that Aatrox did, because it felt like a lot. Maybe it was more onto the Oriannas. Now we got fighting in the bot lane.
Cridian's falling very low here, and Valley will be able to finish him off and get the reset. Now diving back on in with Saknam at his back, but RL Ponzi is going to show up and should be able to pick up one here. Goes for the Inferno trigger and gets just enough damage onto Water Frog to turn it back into another 1-for-1 as RL Pons now has to head for the hills. That's a 2-for-1 fight in the bottom lane. Purdue gonna be pretty happy with that one, though, as they managed to get some nice gold onto their Samira.
Yeah, a fantastic job making sure that Samira could get some gold, because it was looking a little dire in the bot lane with the way that kill came out.
Oh, Night is Dawn falling so low here, took 2 sweet spots, and the Q3 just slightly. Now trying to fight it back around with the shield from the buckler. Bassini misses 1 Q, misses a second one, but will be able to close it out with the 3rd Darkened Blade. Slams it down onto that Poppy, gets himself the solo kill, and I am seeing, you know, some echoes of game number 1 here, Bonfire.
Yeah, Bassini actually, I think, is just handicapping himself. I think he's saying, you know what, I'm playing Aatrox, put me at 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, and then I'll just have to work my way back up. It's just too boring for Bassini, because he's just losing those early fights, scaling up to a good position, and then winning them, like you talked about, shades of game 1. I think when he missed that flash second Q, I was starting to worry that Night's Dawn was about to get the 4th solo kill on the top lane, or the 3rd, excuse me. RL Pons was in the 2nd one, but at the end of the day, what matters most is just that Aatrox damage, as we're going to be able to take another look at the bot lane in a little bit ago. Water Frog just pushes up a little bit too far. They did not know where the Maokai was, and they're able to burst down on Cridians to begin. And then I think Water Frog saw red. He saw that Low Valis was so low. Or Low Valley, excuse me, was so low, but they do not have the damage. And now look at where Water Frog is. Positioning so poor, ends up falling for it. It just felt like they were just being ran around that entire team fight in the bot lane. End up losing 2 because of it. And in the top lane, it was Bassini doing a fantastic job. We're going to hyperspeed mode as Night's Dawn misses the Q, doesn't get the damage, is able to pick up the shield. Bassini just doing a fantastic job of wave management, gets the double knockup, gets the 3rd knockup, or the 3rd damage here as well. And now it's just dire straits for Night's Dawn, but he's able to trade it out pretty well with that shield. Bassini trying to dodge that shield. I thought it was dusted right here. Flash is just a little bit too much, but damage just way too much for that Poppy to sustain.
The buckler, a big difference maker for the Poppy, you know, especially in lane after she's been a jungler for quite a while now. People forget just how big of a difference maker that buckler really can be, but not going to be quite enough of the difference maker for Night's Dawn there. Now looks like we're setting up for a 3v3 in the bottom lane. Man just gonna dive right on in, and this is gonna be Nami just getting absolutely one shot.
Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers.
Happen. And Valley going to stack up the Inferno trigger and just start raining the damage down onto RL Pons, and Water Frog will get one, but won't be able to get the others. The Boomerang Blade cuts him down. Drix It Up has arrived to the play now. Wall Place is just a little bit too late. Not gonna bother to TP. Not gonna have enough time to roam down. Just gonna say, all right, you know what? It's a 1-for-1, and that's going to be enough for me. It's actually a 2-for-1. Cridians is already respawned, so miscounting, and maybe even more, as Night's Dawn is just up too far. Gonna be forced to flash away the big long cats. Not quite enough to be able to close out the damage, but he will be able to escape for now. And now Drix It Up looking for some damage. A nice spell shield from Ahriman stops it. Flash forward, one more Dark Sphere doesn't land, and Drix It Up so close to cleaning up 2 kills there, but just has to walk away with nothing.
Yeah, now there's a Rift Herald in lane. What the heck is going on? I hope we can get a replay of whatever the heck that was. It looked so good for the Anti-Yuumi fan club at the beginning, right? They had the numbers advantage. Sure, they lost their support, but just the reinforcements were there. It felt like a war movie where you were just waiting for the planes to drop off a couple thousand more soldiers and you can push the line. But the line was never pushed. Meanwhile, in the top lane, very quietly, this Aatrox able to pick up the entirety of a tower.
It's going crazy in this game as Bassini and Night's Dawn are going at it once again, but once again Bassini just too much regen with that World Ender. Dive back in from Night's Dawn. They're going both incredibly low here. Don't know who's gonna end up winning that fight as we're breaking out in the bottom lane. Valley going to end up dropping there. The Chain CC too strong, no Inferno Trigger available. Can't stack it up when you're just stuck in the bubble the entire time. And that's going to be the Anti-Yuumi fan club bringing us to 7-7.
Yeah, it's 7-7, but it's a 4,000 gold lead for Purdue. I think we're going to look back at that. Yeah, the bot fight right here. So right now already, they do a fantastic job of getting Pretty, but they don't know that the tunnel is there. So right now it's a 2-on-3. So it's like, oh no, what are they going to do? Here come the reinforcements, but Lowell Valley just able to chunk them out so well, fighting to the death, does a fantastic job, and they don't focus on the other two running away. Now they're trying to fight it, and they're, you know, it's just the two of them. They don't have the Sivir. Sivir way too low, has to back. It's a 2-on-2. I'm not really entirely sure what Night's Dawn is doing right here, pushing up into two people. It's with ACS behind them, but able to survive for it. Now ACS is seeing that there might be a possible angle, able to get a Scatter of the Week onto the Maokai. The damage looks good, and now they get the ultimate onto Ariman, but Ariman does a good job of blocking the first end of that, doesn't get the damage, and I mean, it ended up being, I believe, a 2-for-1, but so many more kills could have been had if there was just one more auto attack.
Yeah, no, and you know what? That's one that you can't really blame on the Syndra updates. Q actually does just a tiny bit more damage now than it used to. It's got a little bit more on the AP scaling, so yeah, just real close to cleaning it up. It tricks it up, just not quite getting it there. You do got to feel for him on the missed ult kill earlier in the game, though, because that definitely was the changes. You know, when Nocturne survived with like 2 HP, that's that 3% scaling taken off the ultimate right there.
Yeah, ACS also just got the second bit of the scaling onto the Syndra, so it'll be interesting to see if this Syndra can really start to come online. It's done a fantastic job of making sure that they're still up with the CS, you know, down a kill with their lane opponent, but still feel very comfortable. The Syndra, obviously a laning champion. And then the top side also, I mean, I think it's important to talk about the CS difference for one, but also Vashini able to get an entire tower all by themselves. This Aatrox has just come online again.
Yeah, Bassini just so strong in the one-on-one here. Going to keep rolling it out. Going to regain a lot more HP. And there's another Paranoia. Nice knockaway there onto Bassini, but a better spell shield from Ariman means he's going to stay alive. And now here comes the lockdown. Going to focus onto that Nami now. Learned his lesson from the earlier plays where the spell shield came through on his twisting advance, and now is just sticking right on top of Water Frog. Going to knock him back in with the Bramble Smash and force the flash there out of the Anti-Yuumi fan club AD carry. Meanwhile, Bassini and Ariman, they get themselves an easy Rift Herald, and everything comes up Purdue University.
Yeah, Purdue University actually is making me stop.
Oh, Saknam, though, knows that the spell shield is down this time, finds an angle to dive in with the twisting advance, now locking down onto RL Pones after the TP in from Bassini, who is just going to dive underneath the turret onto Water Frog. Another nice spell shield to keep him alive, but there's the twisting advance angle once again. Valis going to get in there, going to get the double kill, going to be able to stay alive. Meanwhile, Drix it up, just blows up Bassini, and now here comes Critians respawned from the beginning of this play. Valley looking to close it out. Nice block there on the projectile, now flashing in with the Inferno Trigger. Not going to be enough to close it out against Drix it up, but it's going to be enough to set up for Ariman, who will be able to pick up that kill on the backside. 3 go down for the Anti-Yuumi fan club in trade for 2. That is Bassini and Valley, but Purdue University, it all is for them at the end of the day. They get so much done. They get some charges off of their Rift Herald. They get the most gold. They get the most jungle camps, and they come out of it with an 8K gold lead.
Purdue University greedy. They're playing 3D chess. They're getting everything on the map. The Rift Herald, a solo kill in the top lane, a solo kill in the bot lane. It ends up being a team fight in the bot lane as well. Thank God we have a replay, because I'm not sure I even remember all the stuff that happened. This is after that solo kill in the bot lane onto the Nami. They think they continue to fight this, but the teleport does end up coming in. So suddenly this Trundle's saying, well, what the heck? I thought we had the numbers advantage. Nope, you do not. Bassini's here to play. He's here to fight. There's a good spell shield to make sure that damage doesn't come in on the beginning of it, but when the numbers are this disadvantaged, that's all that's going to happen. Lowell Valley falls low, and so that's what makes it so difficult to stay alive, but the damage is there from ACS, so suddenly it's looking a bit more, it's looking a bit better, excuse me. But Critians doesn't have the damage, realizes it way too late, ends up falling for it. They're able to trade out Lowell Valley, but then the Syndra died as well, and so they're able to get the mid tower, they're able to get the bot tower, they get a solo kill in the top lane, and they get, I believe, 3 total in the bot lane. Maybe I think they got 4 total in the bot lane. So yeah, Purdue University is up way too much.
Diving forward now, once again off the Paranoia. Ariman just too strong now with the Stride Breaker done. Blows Water Frog out of the water, and he's going to be done for the time being. 20 seconds to go on that death timer. That's 20 seconds where Purdue can do pretty much whatever they want. Can we get a splinter check on the Syndra? I want to see where Drixitup is on that counter. That's Orianna. There we go, 76. So working his way towards the craziest breakpoints are 100, where you get the execute damage, and 120, where you get max AP.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll matter. It might matter if they can get Bassini here, though.
Yeah, Bassini getting locked down. Flash forward from Nightstone to get the slow off of the Chomp. Bassini, though, kiting it out beautifully and gaining back all the health that he lost. He's still got access to the Gore Drinker once he falls low enough, and he's willing to just fight this one out here. Another dash back. There's the Gore Drinker to come back to about half HP, and now here comes the collapse. The Cats are coming in, and Ari Man is joining along with them. The lockdown happens out of the Nami, and there's going to be the dive forward with the twisting advance onto RL Pones. Nightstone is suddenly left in a 3 versus 1, has nowhere left to go, is going to get feared up by the Nocturne, and is going to get dropped. 17-9 on the scoreboard. Purdue find themselves a triple kill in the top lane.
Bassini says, "You're not locked. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me." Does not care about the damage that they push out, and why should he? Where is the damage for the side of Anti-Yuumi Fanclub? It's solely on the Syndra and a little bit on the Sivir. With nobody, with none of those three there, he just does not give a damn. Tanks up all that damage, waits for his friends to come, and everything's better with your friends. Able to get all three, mop them up. This game feels done and dusted. An 11,000 gold lead for Purdue. At 18 minutes, they're able to get their second dragon of the game. Just doing a fantastic job cross-mapping this game. Here's Bassini. Feels comfortable enough to walk up a little bit, and then he's thinking, oh no, you know, there's one person here. Is there going to be any damage? Oh, there's not any damage? Okay, I'll just walk myself away. Does have to use the flash to make sure he doesn't get locked up too much, like a little bit away right now. And he's able to walk himself away. Again, Q1 hits, Q2 hits, Q3 hits. That's 3 knockups. The damage of being pushed off onto the other team. You talked about it perfectly. Able to survive so long. I don't even think he feels uncomfortable at all. As RL Pons actually almost falls, he's only down to about 30% of his health with 3 people ragging on him. And at this point, the Cats are just spelling doom and gloom. That's 2 dead. And I mean, this Poppy's saying, what am I doing here? I deserve to be in the base. Don't worry, Night's Dawn. They'll send you to the base soon enough, as he is going to be looking at the gray screen in the fountain, thinking about his life decisions.
No, just too difficult to take down the Aatrox. Nicely played by Bassini to kite that one out and keep the fight going for long enough. And now it's going to be getting tougher and tougher to win out on these fights as the Anti-Yuumi Fanclub. They're now down 10k gold. They've only got 1 dragon to their name. They haven't gotten any turrets yet this game. That does mean there's a lot of standing gold, and there's a lot of objective bounties that can be claimed if they do manage to win a fight. But I mean, winning that fight is going to require being able to take down this Aatrox, and that's something they have had a lot of difficulty managing to do. And it's going to get even tougher now that Nocturne is so tanky as well. He's got that Death Stance completed. They're just so propelled ahead of the pace of the game that it's going to be very difficult for them to take down almost anybody on the side of Purdue, except for that Orianna, who's, of course, going to always be in the backline.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you have to do if you're JHU Anti-Yuumi Fanclub is you have to look towards a bot lane, right? Or a top lane, or any lane. You have to look for a disadvantaged fight where you actually have the damage, right? They got that 3-man onto the Aatrox, but there's just no damage there. They realized it a little bit too late. If you bring a Sivir up, if you bring a Syndra up, you can possibly take one of those shutdowns down, possibly. You can get a push in, maybe get a tower. But right now, what they're doing, which is not terrible, but they're just CSing, and I mean, it's just always going to be good for the side of Purdue because, you know, they have a 10,000 gold lead, so they need to look for an advantage fight, and this is not one of them.
Paranoia popped again, going in on a Drixitup, who will be able to flash away to safety. So not going down this time. That's a good job from the mid laner there from the Anti-Yuumi Fanclub. If you can manage to survive the Paranoia, that's a great start. Means it's going to be down for, you know, about another minute or so. It's going to be a little while before that one can be cast again. This might be an angle where you can try to make plays happen where you know Nocturne isn't. He's not going to come out of nowhere flying at you this time, and they are going to try to start this play onto Bassini, but he's just going to be able to slide over the wall, go into the Baron pit. The Cats are going to cut off any other angles to keep chasing, and they're going to have to give up on this play.
Cool as a cucumber. Cool as a cucumber. Knows that he has dash up. Doesn't even worry. What's flash? Is that a summoner? Doesn't matter. I'm just going to dash and gets himself away. I mean, huge props to Bassini as well, because split pushing can be very dangerous at this point in the game. Obviously, I talked about, you know, how important it is for them to pick him, but if you're not able to pick him, you lose vision. If you lose vision, you lose Baron.
Yep, and they might just do that, as the Baron's already dropped down below 4k HP. should be falling down here pretty shortly. There is no contest. There is no opportunity to steal. And that is going to be just more gold, more buffs in the pockets of Purdue University.
Yeah, this is. I mean, they're just checking off the points they have to, right? Get Baron, get towers, win the game, get a beer with the boys afterwards. That's all that's on their list right now. And I mean, I think the question right now isn't in this game. It's just, you know, where are we going after this game? What beers are we drinking?
Yeah, are pretty high up there, you know. And you got to believe that the Anti-Yuumi fan club, they're asking themselves the same question a little bit. They might be drinking something a little harder than beer based on the events of the night. But you know, the opportunities to come back in this, they're very slim, but they're probably pretty well defined. The Orianna is the target that you can maybe blow up, and Syndra is now a very hard scaling champion. Sivir has always been one. So they do have this really powerful scaling team composition. It just feels so impossible for them to have any opportunity to get there unless they get some crazy picks.
Yeah, they need a really good scatter of the week, and they need a lot more time on this clock. Right now, it feels like Purdue just wants to, you know, get this game done and dusted. And it makes sense, right? You've got this super big Nocturne with the ultimate doing so much damage, so much around the map. You just want to get something done, but right now...
Dive in here from that Poppy, looking to try to find an angle, but that's a big three-man shockwave going to just blow up the side of the Anti-Yuumi fan club. That ace is started. That ace is finished just as quickly as it began. No opportunity to get anything done here from the Anti-Yuumi fan club, and Purdue University will close out this series 2-0, 6-0 on the season, 3-0 in series score, and they are the team to beat in the Risen Divine League.
Yeah. Drinks on Bashini tonight, boys. He carried you in the top lane, and he will carry you guys to the bar. A fantastic game win from Purdue University. It looked good in the early game, but as we bring Slayer back to the desk, it quickly got out of control.
Let's just hope that everybody on these rosters can carry people.
Yes, yes.
I will say, of course. But yeah, I mean, man, Gordo, I'm gonna go to you quickly here. Was that a bigger stomp than game one? I mean, was that immediate takeaways? Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
Okay, fair enough. I definitely thought it was out the gate, and I want to get your opinion on it. Bonfire, what do you want to? How are you gonna save face this time, bud? It's 2 weeks in a row.
Well, okay, it's not, because I was wrong about predictions 2 weeks ago, so had a little bit of a week in between.
2 separate weeks.
Yes, 2 separate weeks. I placed my faith in JHU, and unfortunately, they were not able to bring it out. But it's okay. I'll get them next week. You know me. I'm a huge fan of the underdog. I don't like stomping on someone when they're down. But Purdue University certainly does, as they made light work of the JHU Anti-Yuumi fan club.
They certainly did, and Gordo, obviously the Aatrox is the big breakout candidate, but we talked about in draft, some of these picks looked a little questionable, or we haven't really seen the combination, especially in the bottom lane. But they did you think that they worked out to an extent with the goal they might have had in mind, picking something like a Samira and Maokai for a bottom lane combo?
Yeah, I mean, I think they lost out on a couple of early trades. We saw that there were, they found themselves in disadvantageous situations where maybe they misread how many members were going to end up coming on down there. Also noticed in a couple of early engagements, Maokai trying to twisted advance onto the Sivir. Can't really do that. It's a really telegraphed ability. It's going to get spell shielded every time. But he shored that up real fast. Started Wing onto the Nami, and every time he did that, they seemed to kill at least a Nami, if not get the double. So that was really the recipe for success down there, and doing a good job of at least keeping their heads in the game, even after a few early plays really did not end up going their way, especially on the top side of the map.
Speaking of early plays, Bonfire, we talked about the Nocturne for Ari Man. We didn't really get to see much of the Nocturne early, but man, once that Paranoia came online, it was quickly seemed like he was 6-0-2. Just absolutely, what happened?
I mean, it was just better cross map plays. I think Purdue University, I mean, there's a reason they're the best in the league right now. I mean, there's a whole host of reasons. One of those being just how well they're able to move across the map. I quickly jotted down my thoughts on what JHU Anti-Yuumi fan club should take away from this. It's kind of a long piece, so I hope I have time to read it. It goes like this. It goes ban Aatrox. So they should take that one back, and hopefully next week they'll think a little bit more about their big fan face.
Speaking of Aatrox, that's actually we're gonna go with our first replay here. This is called the Bushini Shuffle. Away from 4 members of the enemy team. We talked this replay earlier. Bushini goes for a casual duel with Nightstorm, but he's got to think at this point, if the Poppy's sticking around, the cavalry's arriving in. Boy, did the cavalry come in droves. Melee pops a world ender. He's gonna have to run away here. You're gonna watch him run all the way up top, but here's the key part. I don't care how broken Aatrox is. This is perfect kiting. Lands a knockup onto RL Pawns with every single one of those Qs. He's holding the Gore Drinker until the last moment possible, is able to stall it just long enough, and pictured off screen, there's Nature's Grasp coming forward, and Nocturne showing up a very extended Nocturne. Beautiful route into a Fear on the Nami, and they're able to pick off the very low health Trundle. So Bushini, we talk about how powerful Aatrox is as a champion, as he'll help wrap up this final 3rd kill. But Gordo, as OP as Aatrox is, as you do see the sign still from Bonfire, beautiful footwork, I guess to say, on the Aatrox in that escape. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
No, yeah, I mean, and some great team fights throughout the entire series there on the Aatrox from the side of Bussini. Just probably needs to work on, knowing the limits of the laning phase a little bit, because ended up giving up a couple of real close fights in that top lane. But he, pretty much every time it ended up going towards his tank opponent. And, Malphite and Poppy top, they're not the most common opponents these days. You face a lot of other bruisers there, and those go down a lot faster. So you can't blame him too much for maybe not knowing the exact limits of where he's going to be able to get the kill and where he isn't against some of these champions. But other than that, a fantastic night for him all around. Getting 2 Aatrox games off. That's his most played in solo queue. It's his most comfortable champion. It's also the best champion in the game. And with all those things in his favor, it feels like a good 2-0 night for Bussini.
Yeah, and certainly, we talked about Bussini on that Aatrox, but one champion we haven't touched on was the Orianna coming out from the Purdue University mid laner. And with our final replay, you just saw the final fight. You're going to look at a pretty flawless Shockwave. It's no Faker finds them all, but it gets pretty darn close to the point here. They're wrapping up the final team fight. Purdue University is going to be shoving in Baron Wave here, and they're going to set a trap pretty perfectly. Keep an eye on that pink magical ball, because it is going to do wonders as we speed up a little bit. The siege does come through, but the Poppy flank was set up, knocked off by Maokai, but here's where they step into the trap. 3-man Shockwave immediately sets up for a Nocturne Paranoia. So Samira jumps forward and immediately gets full style points, flashes forward the Inferno trigger. It just does not get cleaner than that Bonfire, and it certainly helps that they wrap the game out right after that amazing play.
Yeah, I talked about the team play, right? They're able to move around the map better. Well, hell, they're able to team fight better than any other team in the league. Right there, you saw it. Once I think what's most impressive is sometimes you've got a little bit of a 1v9 TSM 9-man sleep situation where nobody goes in on the huge engage, and you're thinking, why did I even engage? Well, right there, that was not the case. They saw the health bars dropping. It was just instant, which, I mean, that's fantastic. When everybody on the same team shares that one brain cell and they're all able to work in tandem, that just is a scary sight. If they can clean up their laning phase a little bit more, I don't know if I see another team knocking down Purdue University.
Purdue University certainly looking like early Divine League fall split champion contenders. They are now 3-0 in Group B, the very, very formidable opponent in Group Number B. But guys, as we close out here, we have one more item on the agenda. Gordo, I'm going to go to you first here. When you're thinking about series MVPs, does Bussini deserve that award right out the gate, or do you have a sleeper pick for us, potentially?
I think you could give a little bit of credit over to Ariman as well. Bussini, a little bit shaky in the early laning phases, but Ariman really coming through, had some great Trundle performances to trying to get them back into things in game number 1, and a crazy Nocturne game in game number 2. So I think I might even lean a little bit more heavily towards Ariman for my player of the series.
Dongo gets the nod from Gordo. Bonfire? What are we thinking here?
I'm respecting an Ari man. You know, I'm an Ari man enjoyer myself, but I have to say, I mean, you know, I have the damn sign for it. You know, you go Aatrox, you win the game, you push out, I imagine, just as much or more damage than anybody on the team. Bashini, you clean up the laning phase a little bit more. I think you're MVP of the split. You have a rough laning phase, but you do it good. You're the MVP of my game.
Yeah, I think both of those are very great picks. Make sure to know if you're still sticking around in the chat who you think the MVP is. Go ahead and spam it on through. I think your two great picks there from both of our casters, Ariman and Genie, are going to be the top favorites. But that does close out our Risen Divine showcase for week number 3. So a big shout out to these two once again, Gordo and Bonfire. Always great for some amazing commentary, and always have to praise the main man behind the scenes, the observer production god of Risen, Caddy. A beautiful show put together again. But that does close out Divine. Make sure to stick around to Risen on all of our socials, because Draft League comes around on Friday. You got the weekend with pre-made Rampage, pre-made Unstoppable, pre-made Dominant, and then you come back on for early week action here at Divine. For now, though, enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you guys when we see you.